Hey, so the new season is here and I've played several games on this patch and I figure I could share my thoughts on how things have been going so far. Now, please keep in mind that this is still very early in the patch, so these are just my first impressions of the season so far. My opinions can and probably will change as I play more games on this patch and things get tweaked. So with all of that said, let's actually start with the out of game stuff. With this patch, they will now be doing themed seasons, with this season being themed around Noxus. Right off the bat, I actually really like this idea, and it's already off to a pretty cool start. The Noxus cinematic was awesome, and the Aton motion comic was also pretty good. I don't know how much of this lore was already known, but as someone who does absolutely nothing to dig into the lore nowadays, this was a really nice way of presenting it, and I hope there's more to come of this caliber. I don't know if we should expect a new cinematic for every season, in fact, we probably shouldn't, but if every season has cool stuff like this and actually advances the plot forward, then that would be really, really cool. It's also been stated that the seasons may also be themed around alternate universes, so we can probably expect a Star Guardian season at some point and things of that nature. Overall, I'm all for this kind of thing as it gets me more invested in the world and makes me want to play the MMO even more. I hope there's more stuff like this to look forward to as this season moves forward. In particular, I hope to see some of the other champions that got the Battle Pass skins get some story progression. And by some of the other champions, I mean Samira. I don't know if that's in the pipeline at all, but I hope to see my girl get something, as well as other champions not included with this skin batch. Now, along with the cool lore stuff, there were also some changes to their loot system. I'll be honest, I've never paid much attention to stuff like keys and chests and all that stuff since I was cursed for ever buying the skins anyway, but now that that curse has been lifted, these things will become a bit more relevant to me. First off, I'll say that I like the UI changes to the missions tab. It's much better than the tiny chat window that was overstuffed with missions that we had to deal with for years. However, they've shifted the majority of the rewards into the Battle Pass system itself. Completing missions grants Battle Pass XP. As with all Battle Passes, there's some free rewards and then some premium rewards. They've done away with tokens and have instead put everything on a linear track. I've seen a lot of complaints about these changes, largely because free-to-play players are getting less than they did in the past, since they can't even earn chests anymore from Mastery. To be honest, I have no idea where you're supposed to get chests anymore at all, because the rank track was also removed. As far as I can tell, chests might simply be paid only, but don't quote me on that. I don't actually know, and I don't keep up with the dev blogs. Personally, if this is the future of Battle Passes, I'll likely only grab them if I like at least 2 of the skins on the pass. The vast majority of the rewards, even on the paid track, are things that are essentially just RNG or just garbage that I don't care about. It should also be noted that the skins on this pass are only available on the Battle Pass. The Elite skin is free, but all the others are Premium Pass only. You cannot buy them in the shop directly. God, am I glad we switched to Mastery for Beat League. That said, I may still get this pass in particular because I like the Samira and Katarina skins, and with the pass costing 1650 RP, that would basically make these 2 skins 825 RP each, which is fine. Maybe I'll get lucky with the RNG garbage on the side for a nice bonus, but I will at least know I get some value for my money with the 2 skins that I actually want. I do hope they reconsider their approach to monetization of this game in the near future though. It's getting so much more aggressive with each year, and as a longtime player and early whale, it's just kinda sad. I don't expect them to just give everything away for free, obviously, but giving players ways to earn cool things by just playing the game is pretty much always a net positive. The earnable chests were a solid way of doing that. I mentioned this in the Jinx video, but giving players a way to earn the gacha sparks for free would also make the system feel less hostile to the average player. However, I'm not gonna hold my breath on any of this happening because Riot as a company has simply reached that point where number just has to go up for the sake of it, so whatever. At least I don't have to keep handing over hundreds of dollars constantly for my content anymore. Now, with all of that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the actual gameplay. This season saw some pretty big changes that had Reddit dooming pretty hard. But is it actually that bad? Not really. Let's start with the easy stuff. First off, the Nexus towers now respawn after a few minutes like your inhibitors. This is straight up just a good change and something that probably should have happened a very long time ago. Teleport has also received a nerf, as it now takes longer to fully channel and you physically travel across the map now instead of blinking to your destination. I am pretty indifferent to this. To be honest, I barely run teleport. I usually run ignite when I can because I like to go for kills, but seeing as my brain has recently expanded and I actually split push now, I should probably start taking this over ignite more often. There were also some changes to minions and towers that I am simply too casual to give a shit about, but the real changes that everyone cares about are the feats of strength and Aton. First, let's talk about the feats of strength. This gives both teams a set of objectives to chase after, and the first team to complete 2 of the 3 feats gets slightly upgraded boots and the ability to buy tier 3 boots after they buy 2 finished legendary items. The losing team gets neither. Now, my concern going into this was that it was going to be way too snowbally. Giving the winning team a permanent advantage over the losing team just didn't seem like it'd be very fair in the long run, but after playing some games, it's not really as bad as I initially thought. Generally, the team that's stomping in objectives is already winning anyway, so it makes no difference there. And I've yet to play a game that was actually close where I felt like the outcome was decided by the boot upgrades. They are strong, don't get me wrong, but I haven't felt like they've negatively impacted my experience yet. In fact, I actually really like the stronger focus it puts on objectives now. Obviously, taking objectives was always important, but putting a stronger emphasis on them has certainly added a fun dynamic in the early game. Maybe my jungler is asleep and losing all the epic monster objectives. Well, in that case, I might try to push my tower more to try and get first tower, or if I wasn't complete garbage at roaming, I could see that maybe my bot lane is close to taking their tower and I roam down to help them kill the enemy bot and take the tower. Maybe I try harder to secure vision around upcoming spawns because I know the enemy jungler will be gunning for it immediately. These are all very subtle things, and of course, these were already decisions I'd be making even before these changes, but the existence of this system makes those decisions that much more tangible and important. Overall, I've really enjoyed it so far. However, I'm still not sold on First Blood being an objective. First Tower and First to 3 Epic Monsters are both team-wide objectives that feel like I can realistically contribute, but First Blood feels like it is pure coin flip. I have no control over what anyone else does, and it feels like it just doesn't really belong in this new system. I don't necessarily hate it, but it just feels like they wanted to take away the First Blood gold, which is fine, by the way, and didn't know what else to do with it, so they just shoved it here. I'd be fine with First Blood giving nothing, to be honest. I don't think it needs an extra reward. But anyway, the feats of strength system overall seems pretty cool. As I said, the boots themselves haven't really negatively impacted my games as far as I can tell, and I have my chat perma-muted, so if there was any extra toxicity, I wouldn't know it. I know the boots are slated to get some minor nerfs soon, so as always, the exact numbers will continue to be tuned until it's just right. But as a whole, I generally like the feats of strength system. You know, maybe they tweak the objectives a bit more to remove First Blood. Maybe they continue tweaking numbers, and hell, maybe they even allow the losing team to get the upgrades later on if it proves to be too one-sided. But overall, numbers aside, it's pretty fun, and that's the most important part as far as I'm concerned. And finally, we have Aton, the newest epic monster objective added to the game. Aton spawns in at 20 minutes and actually has one of 2 forms based on the game flow. In higher action games, you will get Ruinous Aton that increases epic monster buffs by 25% for the rest of the game and spawns a bunch of the new Blood Roses, which are basically just plants that grant the team some XP and adaptive force. In lower action games, you'll get Voracious Aton, which grants a permanent 40 gold bonus on champion takedowns, as well as a one-time Guardian Angel that instantly respawns you on death for the next 2.5 minutes. Aton can spawn in either the top side or bot side river, depending on which side saw the most action. Now, there's a lot to go over there, but I will say in general, I actually think this is pretty cool. I believe the intent here is to add a good amount of variance to each game, and having a major objective like this spawn on different sides of the map and have different forms based on the game, all of that is really cool and I'm 100% down for that. However, I do have some gripes and concerns. First up, in regards to the blood petals, I'm not really sure why this system was even necessary. I don't necessarily hate it, but it just seemed like a random addition that doesn't add much value to the game in terms of like like direct gameplay and has the potential to make snowballing even stronger since you get XP and adaptive force with each petal. The number per petal is quite small and they only spawned where people died, but I'm just worried that this is gonna potentially add up to insurmountable odds in certain games where you're getting your ass kicked and the enemy keeps literally farming your ass. As for Ruinous Aton, I don't really have that much to say. Obviously 25% increased dragon buffs is really strong, but I think because it's essentially just a passive thing, it doesn't really feel that bullshit unless you crunch the numbers. Maybe I just haven't seen it enough, maybe the games haven't lasted long enough, I'm not sure, but I don't really have much of an opinion on Ruinous Aton itself. However, Voracious Aton is where I have some complaints, and it's not even on the free revive itself. I think I'm actually okay with that, as it allows the winning team to kind of go crazy a little bit for a short period of time and take slightly bigger risks. I don't necessarily hate that, but what I do hate is that your reward for killing a player with this buff is just 100 gold. This just feels bad. If I'm getting my ass kicked, and I get a much needed kill on someone that I use all of my summoners on, getting just 100 gold for my efforts is just incredibly demoralizing. Sure, I should probably play safe in these situations and wait for it to expire, similar to how I'd approach a team with Elder buff, but unlike Elder, this shit is only happening like 20 minutes into the game. Giving a team free reign to do dumb shit with basically no consequences just feels bad if you are on the losing side of this. I got a triple kill on a team with this buff and got only 300 gold for my efforts. I mean, you also get some blood petals as well, I guess, but that's just small and barely noticeable. Whereas my poverty is very noticeable and in my face when I go back to base and I still can't afford much. Personally, I think the revive aspect is strong enough on its own. I don't think it needs the gold denial aspect as well, especially since it already gives the winning team a permanent bonus to all future takedowns. Out of everything in this patch, this is the one thing that I have the most negative feelings towards. And I say this as someone who was on both sides of the bullshit, by the way. I think it just feels bad. Obviously, losing always feels a bit bad, but this just feels extra bad, like in a why did I even bother kind of way. In my experience, it's also allowed the winning team to snowball the game even harder, simply because there's no real consequences for death. This might be something I get used to as I play more, but my first impression of Voracious Aton in particular is I'm not a fan. However, again, I like the overall idea of Aton and its dynamic nature. So maybe I just need more time, maybe it needs to get tuned more. I don't know, time will tell. Overall, I'd say I'm fairly positive on the changes to this season, minus the concerns I mentioned. I've had a pretty good time for the most part on this patch so far, but we'll see how things develop as time goes on. Now, there is one last thing I'm slightly concerned about, but it might not really be something I should even worry about. Obviously, the feats of strength and Aton are both in line with the overall Noxian theme. Oh, now that I think of it, I completely forgot to mention that they changed the map. That's pretty cool. It's just Red Summoner's Rift, but I wouldn't want them to go too crazy with this anyway, so it's cool to see a bit of variance here. Anyway, the gameplay changes are in line with the overall theme of the season. That's cool and all, but it does make me wonder if they plan on making these kinds of changes every season. I'd like to believe I'm overthinking this and that they wouldn't do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually the plan. I don't think I would necessarily hate that if they do it well, but these kinds of sweeping seasonal changes can obviously have very chaotic results, and I worry that it might make this game near unplayable at times when they inevitably misstep. Again, this is pure speculation on my part, so take this with a massive bucket of salt, but I'll be very interested to see how they handle future seasons, both in-game and out. So overall, I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic about this new approach. They have the potential to do some really cool things this year, as well as continue to keep the game fresh even after all this time. I fully expect the monetization to continue to be ass, but hey, not my problem anymore. I have enough skins and I'm only going to spend money on things I can get directly for a reasonable price. That aside, I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing what they do with the rest of this season and where we might be going next. Will it be another region, or will it be an alternate universe? Only time will tell. Either way, that's all I got for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.